Nothing about that Sunday supper looked like the kind of evening that would teach a man what his own child thought his life was worth. The pork roast was in the oven. The grandkids were laughing in the den. My daughter kissed me on the cheek when I walked in and called me daddy like she used to when she was 7 years old and still believed I could fix anything with a pocket knife and a roll of electrical tape. Everything felt ordinary, safe, family. Until I went down the hall to wash my hands and saw my name on a folder I was never supposed to find. My name is Walter Briggs. I am 71 years old, born and raised in Ohio, retired after 38 years as a power company line supervisor. If a storm knocked half of Franklin County into darkness, I was usually the man standing in the rain at 2 in the morning telling a crew which pole was coming down next. I was never rich in the way television people use that word, but I was careful. My wife, Elaine, and I paid off our little brick ranch in Westerville before I turned 55. I had a pension, a retirement account, a life insurance policy, and a savings account Elaine used to call the rainy day jar, even though by the time she passed, it had grown into something more than rainy day money. Elaine had been gone 4 years that spring. Cancer took her in 10 months, and I will not dress that up for anyone. It was ugly, it was unfair, and it left the house too quiet. After she died, my daughter Marcy started coming around more often. At first I was grateful for it. She brought casseroles, sat with me on the back porch, asked if I needed help with bills or doctor appointments. Her husband, Trent, offered to handle repairs around the house. He had a contracting business, or at least that's what he called it. From what I could see, he mostly drove a big white pickup, wore clean work boots, and talked about jobs that were always about to close. Marcy was 44, my oldest. My son, Peter, lived in Boise with his wife and 2 boys. Good man, but far away. Marcy had stayed local, married local, raised her children 10 minutes from my house. For that reason alone, I think she believed proximity gave her authority. I didn't see it then. A lonely widower is not always blind, my friends, but he can be grateful enough to mistake control for care. The Sunday everything changed was in late April. Marcy called me around noon. "Daddy, come for supper tonight," she said. "I'm making roast pork and Jenna made lemon bars. She wants Grandpa to try them." Jenna was my youngest granddaughter, 16 years old, sweet in the way Elaine had been, sweet, quiet until she trusted you, and then funny enough to make coffee come out of your nose. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "No occasion. Can't a daughter feed her father?" I smiled at that. "Depends on what she wants," signed afterward. She laughed too quickly. I remember that now. At the time, I didn't. I got there at 5:30 with a carton of vanilla ice cream and a jar of Elaine's old strawberry sauce I still made every spring. Marcy's house was in a new subdivision outside Dublin, one of those neighborhoods where every garage door looks like it was stamped from the same machine. Trent's truck sat in the driveway, clean as a showroom floor. My grandson Caleb was in the front yard throwing a football at a maple tree. Jenna opened the door and hugged me so hard my glasses shifted. "Grandpa, you brought the strawberry sauce. Your grandmother would haunt me if I showed up without it." That made her smile and look down. Elaine's name still did that to all of us. Inside, the house smelled like rosemary, garlic, and fresh bread. Trent was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, carving roast pork like a man posing for a magazine about family values. Marcy took my jacket, kissed my cheek, and pressed a glass of iced tea into my hand. "Careful," she said. "I made it the way Mom used to, not too sweet." I took a sip. It was good, cold, familiar. We sat in the living room while the last of dinner finished. Trent asked about the house. Marcy asked about my knees. Caleb talked about baseball. Jenna sat beside me and showed me a sketch she'd made of Elaine's rose bushes from a photo on her phone. For 20 minutes, I let myself feel lucky. Then Marcy brought out a blue plastic pill organizer. "I almost forgot," she said, setting it on the coffee table in front of me. "I made you something?" I looked at it. 7 days across the top. Morning and evening compartments. "What's this?" "Daddy, don't make that face. It's just to help. You keep all those bottles in the bathroom cabinet. Blood pressure, cholesterol, aspirin, vitamins. It's too much." I sorted them for the week. I did not like that. I have never liked anyone touching my medicine. Maybe that comes from working around electricity. You learn early that the small things kill you when you stop respecting them. Marcy, I can handle my pills. I know you can, she said, and her voice softened in that way people use when they are not agreeing with you at all. But it would make me feel better. Just try it. Trent leaned against the doorway. Walter, it's not a big deal. My mom uses one. Helps everybody sleep easier. I looked at my daughter. I looked at the pill case. It was such a small thing, and I didn't want to start supper by sounding like a stubborn old man. So I said, fine. I'll look at it when I get home. Marcy smiled like she had won something. Dinner was good. I will say that because truth matters even when it hurts. The pork was tender, the potatoes were roasted crisp at the edges, and Jenna's lemon bars were better than anything a 16-year-old had a right to make. Trent poured wine for himself and Marcy. I stuck with tea. Halfway through the meal, I noticed my mouth going dry. Not a little dry. Cotton dry. My tongue felt too big, and the voices at the table started arriving from farther away than they should have. You okay, Dad? Marcy asked. Fine, I said. Just warm in here. Trent stood up fast. Too fast. Want me to get you water? I can get water. I'll get it, Marcy said. No. I smiled because I heard the sharpness in my own voice. I'm not helpless. I know where the sink is. The dining room went quiet for half a second. Then Caleb started talking about baseball again, and everyone pretended nothing had happened. I got up slow, not because I wanted to, but because the floor had developed a slight wave under it. I told myself it was the iced tea, maybe too much sugar, maybe I had stood too quickly. I walked down the hallway toward the bathroom instead of the kitchen, because I wanted cold water on my face. That hallway had family pictures along both walls. Marcy and Peter as children. Elaine holding Jenna as a baby. Me in a hard hat beside a utility truck after the big ice storm of 2004. At the end of the hall, the bathroom door was half open. I stepped inside, shut it most of the way, and gripped the sink. My face in the mirror looked pale and older than it had that morning. I splashed water on my cheeks. My hands were clumsy. I knocked the little guest towel off the ring, and it slid behind a narrow laundry hamper beside the sink. I bent to pick it up, and that was when I saw the folder. It was wedged between the hamper and the wall, like someone had set it there quickly and forgotten to come back. A manila folder. Thick. My name was on the tab in black marker. Briggs. Walter Spring Meadow Transition. I stared at it for a long moment, not touching it. Spring Meadow was a memory care facility north of Powell. I knew that because Elaine's cousin had spent her last year there. Locked doors, soft music in the lobby, nurses who called every man sweetheart. The kind of place families praised in public and cried about in the parking lot. My first thought was not betrayal. It was confusion. Maybe Marcy had been researching options in case I needed help someday. Maybe she had not known how to bring it up. Maybe I was being unfair. Then I opened the folder. On top was an intake packet with my date of birth, my Medicare number, my medications, my home address, my estimated assets, and a line that made my stomach go cold. Recommended admission. Within 30 days due to increasing confusion, medication mismanagement, and unsafe independent living. Behind that was a copy of a durable power of attorney naming Marcy Briggs Hollis as my primary agent. My signature sat at the bottom of the page. Except I had never signed it. I know my own signature. A man who spent 38 years signing crew reports, incident logs, union forms, and safety clearances knows the shape of his own name. This looked close. Close enough to fool someone who didn't love the hand that wrote it. But the W was wrong. Elaine used to joke that my W looked like a bent fence. This one was too smooth. Under that was a printed email from Trent to a man named Carl Weathersby at a real estate development company. Subject line, Briggs, property timeline. The message was short. Once Marcy has authority, we can move fast. House should be cleared by June. He's declining enough that nobody will question placement if paperwork is ready. I read that sentence 3 times. House should be cleared by June, not my home, not Elaine's roses, not the kitchen where my grandson learned to make pancakes. Not the bedroom where my wife took her last breath with her hand in mine. House should be cleared by June. From the dining room, Marcy laughed at something. It sounded normal. That was the worst part. Evil does not always sound like shouting. Sometimes it sounds like your daughter laughing over roast pork while your forged signature sits in a folder beside the bathroom sink. I took out my phone and photographed every page. My hands shook so hard the first two pictures blurred. I steadied myself on the sink, took them again, slid the folder exactly where I had found it, picked up the towel, and washed my hands like I had come in there for nothing more serious than soap. When I returned to the table, Trent was watching me. "Everything all right, Walter?" "Fine," I said. "Just needed a splash of water." Marcy studied my face. "You look tired." "I'm 71. I'm allowed." Jenna smiled. Caleb laughed. The adults did not. Before I left that night, Marcy pressed the pill organizer into my hand. "Start tomorrow morning," she said. "Please. For me." I looked at my daughter's face, the same brown eyes Elaine had passed to her, and I searched for the child who used to run across the yard with scraped knees, asking me to fix the world. I wanted to find her. God help me, I did. "I'll start in the morning," I said. I drove home with that blue pill case on the passenger seat like a live snake. I did not call the police first. I know some of you, brothers and sisters, may think I should have. Maybe you're right. But when the person hurting you has your last name, the mind does strange things. It begs for another explanation. It makes excuses on behalf of the hand holding the knife. I sat in my kitchen until nearly midnight with Elaine's strawberry sauce jar still in the grocery bag and that pill organizer under the light. I opened Monday morning's compartment. 2 pills I recognized. 1 I did not. I called my pharmacy the moment they opened. Nora Delgado speaking. "Nora, it's Walter Briggs." Her voice changed. "Mr. Briggs, I'm glad you called." That sentence told me something before she said another word. "What's going on?" She lowered her voice. "I left you 2 messages last week. Did you get them?" "No. Someone came in Tuesday to pick up a new medication under your name. A man. Said he was your son-in-law. He had your date of birth, your address, and a copy of your insurance card." My hand tightened around the phone. "What medication?" "I don't want to say too much over the phone, but it was not something you've ever taken through us. It can cause heavy sedation and confusion in older patients if used improperly. The prescription came from an online clinic, not your primary physician. I refused to fill it until I spoke with you directly." I closed my eyes. "Nora, did he get angry?" "He got polite," she said. That worried me more. I almost laughed at that, but nothing came out. "He said your daughter was organizing your care, and that you had started forgetting things. Then he asked if there was anything stronger, if the doctor wanted to keep you calm during transition." His words, not mine. The room seemed to narrow. "Nora, I need copies of everything. I already saved the pickup request, the camera timestamp, and the prescription record. Mr. Briggs, are you safe?" That question broke something loose in me. Not because I was safe, but because a woman who knew me mostly by blood pressure refills sounded more protective than my own daughter had the night before. "I'm home," I said. "Door locked. Call someone you trust." I knew who that was. My grandson, Aaron, was 26 years old and worked for the county as an adult protective services case coordinator. He was Marcy's son, though you would not know it by the way he carried himself. He had Elaine's quiet kindness and my habit of checking exits when entering a room. Aaron and Marcy had been strained for nearly a year. She said he was judgmental. He said she treated people like accounts to be managed. I had stayed out of it, because old fools like me still believe families can sort themselves out if everyone just calms down. I called him at 9:18 that morning. "Grandpa, I need you to listen and not react until I'm done." A pause. "Okay." I told him about the supper, the pill organizer, the dizziness, the folder, Spring Meadow, the forged power of attorney, the development email, and Nora at the pharmacy. I talked for 14 minutes. He did not interrupt once. When I finished, the line was silent. "Aaron, I'm here." His voice was different. Not frightened, focused. "Do not take anything from that pill organizer," he said. Put it in a plastic bag. Don't handle it more than you have to. Do not call Mom. Do not call Trent. Do not accuse anybody. Grandpa, I need you to act normal. I've been acting normal since your grandmother died. That ends now, he said, and the gentleness in his voice nearly undid me. Now, you let somebody help you. By noon, Aaron was at my kitchen table with a scanner, a notepad, and a look on his face I had never seen before. He photographed the pill organizer, bagged it, copied the photos from my phone, and called Nora on speaker. Then he called a lawyer named Denise Park, who specialized in elder law and had apparently trained half the county on financial exploitation cases. By 3, I was sitting in my doctor's office. Dr. Samuel Voss had been my physician for 18 years. He was a dry man with wire glasses and very little patience for nonsense. Aaron explained what was happening. Dr. Voss listened, then turned to me. Walter, has your daughter attended any appointments with you recently? 2. Last month and the month before. Did she ask about memory issues? She did. I thought she was being careful. He leaned back in his chair. She called my office 3 weeks ago, asking whether I would write a letter saying you needed assistance managing medication and finances. I declined because I had no medical basis for that. She became upset. I looked at the floor. There are moments when betrayal stops arriving as one big blow and starts coming as a steady rain of smaller confirmations. Each one says the same thing. Yes, it was real. Yes, they planned it. Yes, you were slower to see it than you wish you had been. Dr. Voss performed a cognitive screening right there. Then he referred me for a full neuropsychological evaluation the next morning. Court admissible, Denise Park said when Aaron told her. Get it before they file anything. That phrase, before they file anything, stayed with me all night. The next day, the evaluation showed what I already knew. I was old, not incompetent. Slower to climb stairs, not unable to think. Grieving, not declining. My memory tested normal. My judgment tested normal. My ability to manage finances tested better than most men half my age, according to the doctor, though I suspect he said that because he liked my answer about compound interest. While that was happening, Denise pulled county records. Someone had filed a preliminary inquiry with probate court. Not a full petition yet, but the path was there. Attached notes claimed I had shown increasing confusion, medication noncompliance, paranoid resistance to family support, and unsafe attachment to residents unsuitable for aging in place. Unsafe attachment. That was what they called love of the home I had shared with my wife. Then the bank called. Her name was Evelyn Brooks, branch manager at the credit union where Elaine and I had opened our first savings account in 1982. Walter, she said, I need you to come in if you're able. Not tomorrow, today. Aaron drove me. Evelyn met us in a small glass office. She shut the door and placed 3 papers on the desk. Your daughter came in Friday with a power of attorney document, she said. She attempted to add herself as authorized signer and initiate a transfer from your money market account. How much? Evelyn looked at me with real sadness. $185,000. I felt Aaron shift beside me, but he said nothing. I refused, Evelyn said. The notary's stamp looked valid, but your signature troubled me. I've seen your signature for 40 years, Walter. That was not yours. For the second time in 2 days, a near stranger had protected me better than my own blood. Denise filed an emergency notice with probate court that afternoon, attaching my cognitive evaluation, Dr. Voss's letter, the pharmacy record, and Evelyn's fraud report. Aaron contacted the sheriff's elder abuse unit. Nora turned over the prescription request and surveillance stills. Evelyn preserved the bank footage. The pill organizer went to a lab. 3 days later, the lab report came back. 2 of the unknown pills in the organizer were not mine. They were sedatives. Not enough to kill me outright. Enough, according to the report, to make a 71-year-old man appear confused, unsteady, forgetful, and possibly unsafe living alone if taken over days. That was the plan. Not murder, at least not at first. Something cleaner, something easier to explain to neighbors. Poor Walter. He went downhill so quickly after Elaine. Marcy did everything she could. They had to move him. They had to sell the house. It was for the best. For the best. I have learned that some of the cruelest things ever done to old people are done under those 4 words. We moved carefully after that. Denise insisted. No confrontation. No warning. No dramatic phone call where I got to demand answers and they got time to destroy evidence. I answered Marcy's calls. I told her I was taking the pills. I let my voice sound tired. When she asked if I had felt foggy, I said, a little. When she said maybe it was time to talk about next steps, I said maybe she was right. She invited herself to my house the following Thursday. Trent and I will come by, she said. Just to talk. No pressure. We love you, Daddy. No pressure. That was how she said it. That Thursday morning, I woke at 5, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table watching the sky lighten over Elaine's rose bushes. Aaron arrived at 7 with Denise. Evelyn from the credit union came at 8:30. Nora came at 9, wearing her white pharmacy coat under a winter jacket because she said she wanted Marcy to know exactly who she had tried to fool. Deputy Harris from the sheriff's office arrived last with another investigator and parked down the street. The plan was simple. Simple is what holds under pressure. Marcy and Trent believed they were coming to guide a confused old man into signing care documents. They did not know the documents had already been replaced. They did not know the house had cameras in the kitchen and living room now. They did not know Aaron was in the guest room with the door cracked open. They did not know Deputy Harris had a warrant ready based on bank fraud, forgery, and medication tampering. At 10:06, Marcy's SUV pulled into my driveway. She came in carrying a tote bag and wearing the soft face. Trent followed with a leather folder and the confident walk of a man who thought the locks had already been picked. Daddy, Marcy said, hugging me. How are you feeling? Tired, I said. Her eyes flickered. Satisfaction is a small thing, but once you know what it looks like, you never forget it. Trent placed his folder on my kitchen table. Elaine's table. The one with the burn mark from the Christmas candle in 1998. We brought a few forms, he said, just to make things easier. I figured you might, I said. He smiled. Good. Good. Marcy sat beside me and took my hand. This is about keeping you safe. That was when Denise Park walked in from the hallway. No, she said. It's about keeping you away from his money. Marcy's hand went limp around mine. Trent stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Who the hell are you? My attorney, I said. And unlike the one on that forged power of attorney, she's real. For a second, nobody moved. Then Aaron stepped out of the guest room. His mother looked at him as if he had slapped her. Aaron, what are you doing here? He did not answer right away. He looked at her, and I saw grief on his face before anger. That boy loved his mother. That is the part people forget in stories like this. Justice does not erase love. It just stops love from being used as a weapon. I'm protecting Grandpa, he said. Marcy's mouth opened, closed, opened again. From what? Nora came in next and set a pharmacy record on the table. From the medication your husband tried to pick up under his name. Evelyn followed and placed the fraud report beside it. From the transfer you attempted using a forged power of attorney. Denise laid down the lab report. From the sedatives placed in his pill organizer. Then she placed the neuropsychological evaluation on top of the stack. And from the claim that he is cognitively impaired, he is not. The room was quiet enough for me to hear the refrigerator hum. Trent's face changed first. The salesman left. Something meaner took its place. You people don't understand, he said. That house is falling apart. He can't manage all this. We were trying to avoid a crisis. Evelyn looked at him like he was something on the bottom of her shoe. Nora folded her arms. Denise did not blink. Marcy started crying. Not the loud kind. The wounded daughter kind. The kind she must have believed would still work on me. Daddy, please. Trent's business got behind. We were going to pay it back. We just needed time. And you were going to leave it to us anyway. There it was. Not I'm sorry. Not I was scared. Not I hurt you. You were going to leave it to us anyway. I looked at my daughter, and for one terrible second I saw every version of her at once. The toddler asleep on my chest during a thunderstorm. The teenager slamming a bedroom door. The bride dancing with me under white lights while Elaine cried into a napkin. The woman at my table with forged papers and a plan to drug me into a locked facility. My house was not your bridge loan, I said. My savings were not your emergency fund. And my mind was not something you could dirty up on paper, because waiting for me to die took too long. She covered her mouth. Trent pointed at Aaron. This is your fault. You turned him against us. Aaron shook his head. No. You counted on him being too lonely to fight back. That was your mistake. Deputy Harris knocked once and came in without waiting for an answer. The handcuffs looked strange in my kitchen. Too shiny. Too final. Trent shouted for a lawyer. Marcy kept saying, "Daddy, Daddy, please." Like the word could still open doors it had closed with both hands. I did not look away. I owed myself that. I owed Elaine that. As Deputy Harris read the charges, Marcy's tote bag slipped off the chair. Papers spilled across the floor. On top was a brochure for Spring Meadow Memory Care, circled in blue ink. Under it was a contractor's estimate for interior clean-out and resale preparation at my address. House should be cleared by June. I picked up the brochure and handed it to Denise. Add it to the pile, I said. The case took 8 months. That is something stories often skip, but I won't. Justice is not a lightning strike. It is paperwork, interviews, waiting rooms, continuances, signatures, and nights when you wake at 2 in the morning because you dreamed your daughter was 7 again, and you cannot reconcile that child with the woman in the police report. Marcy pleaded guilty to forgery, attempted financial exploitation of an elderly adult, and conspiracy. Trent fought longer. Men like Trent often do. He said he was misunderstood. He said I was stubborn. He said Aaron had manipulated me. Then the pharmacy footage came in. Then the bank footage. Then the lab report. Then the email to the developer. After that, his story got smaller. He received 5 years. Marcy received 3, with probation after. The notary who stamped the forged power of attorney lost her commission and faced charges of her own. The online clinic doctor who signed the prescription without ever examining me was reported to the medical board. Spring Meadow, to their credit, turned over every intake note Marcy had sent them. I did not feel happy when my daughter was sentenced. Let me say that plainly. Because some people think justice feels like celebration, it doesn't. Not when it is your child. Not when you remember teaching her to ride a bike in the church parking lot. Not when she turns around before the bailiff leads her away and looks, for half a second, like the girl who used to ask you to check under the bed for monsters. The monster was never under the bed. It was entitlement. It was debt. It was greed dressed up as concern. It was the belief that an old man's life becomes public property the moment his hair turns white. Afterward, Aaron drove me home. We stopped at a diner on Route 3 because I had not eaten all day. He ordered meatloaf. I ordered coffee and cherry pie. For a while, we sat there without talking, 2 men in a vinyl booth with too much behind us and not enough language for it. Finally, he said, "Grandma would have been proud of you." I looked out the window at the parking lot lights shining on the wet pavement. "No," I said. "She would have been furious first." Aaron laughed, and then I did too. It came out rough, but it was real. Denise helped me put the house into a protected trust. Not because I was helpless, but because I was not foolish anymore. Peter flew in from Boise and apologized for being far away, though he had done nothing wrong. Jenna came by with lemon bars and cried on my porch for 20 minutes. Caleb stopped speaking to Trent entirely. Families do not heal clean. They limp, but sometimes limping is still movement. I changed the locks. I changed my medical contacts. I changed every beneficiary form Elaine and I had filled out 20 years before when we still believed blood was enough. And the blue pill organizer? I kept it. It sits in a sealed evidence bag in the bottom drawer of my desk, not because I enjoy looking at it, but because memory matters. Every now and then, when I start to miss the version of Marcy I thought I had, I open that drawer and remind myself of the version who sat at my table and asked me to swallow confusion one compartment at a time. My friends, if you are listening to this, and you are getting older, hear me clearly. Love your children. Help them if you can. Forgive what is human. But do not confuse love with surrender. Your home is not an inheritance waiting room. Your savings are not a reward for whoever pressures you hardest. Your signature, your medicine, your mind, your name, those belong to you until God himself says otherwise. I still live in the brick ranch in Westerville. Elaine's roses came back strong that summer. Aaron comes every Sunday after church. Sometimes Peter calls while we are on the porch, and we put him on speaker so he can complain about Idaho weather. Jenna is studying nursing now. She says she wants to work with older people because somebody ought to notice when things are wrong. She is right. Somebody noticed for me. A pharmacist, a bank manager, a grandson who knew that family loyalty should never mean silence. And when I think about what saved me, it was not one big heroic moment. It was small, honest people doing the right thing before the wrong people could finish their plan. That is how the lights come back on after a storm. Not all at once, one line at a time. Love does not mean surrendering your safety, your dignity, or the life you worked hard to build. Walter's rescue came because good people paid attention. A pharmacist, a banker, a grandson, a doctor. Even when trust is broken, kindness can still step forward. Protect what matters, accept help when it comes, and keep faith that honest hearts still exist.